Hey, so it's me, Vicky Marie. Good morning, good afternoon, or good evening, wherever you are in this crazy world we're living in. Okay, so I want to talk a little bit about Samantha Murphy. Oh, it was all that we had a little bit of excitement last week, didn't we? Hoping that Samantha's remains may have been found. Just a quick recap of the case. In February 2024, Samantha went for a run, as was her normal thing she would do on a Sunday, in Ballarat in Australia, and Samantha disappeared without a trace. And unfortunately, even now, even though someone has actually been arrested for her murder, Samantha's remains have not been found. And the young man that's been arrested for her murder, Patrick Stevenson, he was said to not be cooperating with the police. Of course, the trial's coming up later this year, so the Australian police are giving very little away. We don't know why they arrested Patrick. We have we don't know anything because obviously the case, until the trial comes up, the police will be quiet about everything. Then suddenly they did announce, it seems like every now and again these Australian police, they announce some bolt from the blue. They announced that they had actually been out to nearby where they think Samantha was killed, and had taken Patrick Stevenson with them. And anyway, nothing had come from that, and they announced that they were about to do the same again. And now last week they did that. They took Patrick Stevenson out to, I think it's called the Enfield. Is it Enfield Park Forest, or a big forest near Ballarat where she lives? And yeah, then they even got excavators. So that's the first time. I mean, obviously they've searched for Samantha's remains ever since they arrested Patrick, really, or before, when they were searching for Samantha in the first place. But they'd never excavated before, or at least as far as we know, because again, the Australian police, and in their wisdom and their right to do it, at the end of the day, they're the investigators. They only tell us what they want us to know. They release information every now and again, but they've never released full information. So, but as far as we know, they had not excavated before. So it all looked very promising that finally Samantha at least might be brought home for her family to give her a proper burial, say goodbye properly, have some resolution. But it wasn't to be. Seems like that search was fruitless again. Now, whether they'll be going out again, who knows? But they took Patrick Stevenson with them. And this was strange because he's still protesting his innocence, apparently. To all intents and purposes, he's not cooperating. He's never cooperated right from the word go, because he's insisting he knows nothing about it. So why did they take Patrick Stevenson? And did they take him? Did he go voluntarily? Or was he just made to go? So that's what we don't know, but we're going to just talk about it a little bit, because a psychologist, a very famous psychologist in Australia, has come forward with his theory. Tim Watson-Munroe has come forward with his theory. Oh, wrong one. About what might have happened. Well, actually, I could show that one because these are photos of Tim himself. And he's, a well-known psychologist in Australia, quite well respected. So let's have a look. We're going to have a look at what his thoughts are on the reason that they may have taken Patrick. What he thinks. And again, it's sort of thoughts, it's speculation, just wondering why the police have taken a man to a scene, a man who says he's claiming his innocence. Has he gone have they made him go, or has he gone voluntarily? And what made the difference last time that they actually excavated, even though they didn't find anything? They must feel there'd be a reason, obviously. They're not excavating for nothing. There'd be a reason why they're excavating, or why they excavated. There'd be a reason why they took Patrick. And, did Patrick go voluntarily, or was Patrick forced to go? So, yeah, Samantha, 51 years old, 3 children, which range from sort of a teenager, like a late teenager, a mid-teenager, and a very young son. And now Patrick who's 23, he's been charged with a murder. That's basically sort of where we are. He's got his trial coming up. I think it's September, or in the autumn of this year. So it'll come. But, in the meantime, it must be so frustrating for Samantha's family. So, yeah, he was recently walked through Enfield State Park, south of Ballarat, with plainclothes detectives in his second excursion from Melbourne Assessment Prison. Yeah, and they never told us about the first one until recently. Excavators were brought to dig up an undisclosed area on a pine plantation. So, why? Was there digital evidence? Maybe his phone had pinged there quite a lot. Anyway, police have remained tight-lipped on the investigation, but veteran criminal psychologist Tim Watson-Munroe said certain inferences can be drawn from the latest update. He said there are 2 possible reasons for leading Stevenson on the second walkthrough. So he said one possibility is they don't have a lot of evidence. And using the colloquial term, it's a bit of a shakedown. I don't believe that. I think the police have got loads of evidence, but they haven't got Samantha's remains. That's the only thing they haven't got. And apparently in the pre-trial hearings that we've seen so far, there was it 400 pieces of evidence? They've got, unlimited sort of CCT evidence, digital evidence. But of course, they want to find Samantha's remains because they want to take her home to her family. Bless her, and bless her family. They deserve that. So anyway, that's one possibility he suggests. But even he goes on to say probably more likely the opposite, that they've got a lot of evidence. So here's Patrick, or he doesn't look anything like that now. Seen pictures of him. I've seen him in his court hearings. He's so thick set now, and he's grown a great big black bushy beard. Like one of those that come underneath the ear. He looks nothing like this clean cut young lad here. So he said, it's the whole audio-visual trip in many ways to maybe put pressure on the accused person to give up more information. You will have well-trained people who'll be looking for all sorts of cues in terms of Patrick's body language, what he may or may not have said. And the second and more likely possibility, and I agree here, much more likely, is that the police are acting on information not yet known to the public. I think it's more likely that the police, in fact, do have more information and they're acting on that, he said, adding it was impossible to know what form any new information may take. And also, I guess, in terms of making it aware to the public, they're saying, look, we're still on the tools, we're still working here. I don't think it's just for show. I don't know that, but I don't think so. I don't know. I don't think it's just for show. Not when they get the excavators out. I did feel that they were deliberately showing off the phone when they found it. A couple of times I think do feel, this is just my feeling and it is only a feeling, I do feel sometimes that they're talking to somebody else, apart from Patrick, like they're trying to show someone else. Is somebody else involved in this? I mean, they keep saying there isn't, but like when they found Samantha's phone in the dam, they were so sort of, I mean, I believe they genuinely found it, and I'm not saying that was a show, but the video that they released of it was like almost saying to someone, look, we found this phone. And there was another time after Patrick was arrested, or was it before he was arrested, when they made it look like they'd found some evidence near where Samantha had disappeared. You know, a video that looked, it was like, oh, come over here, you know, and then huddling round so that the camera couldn't see the evidence. But why was the camera even there in the first place? You know, they can stop people having cameras there. So any photo that comes out of the police finding something or searching for something, that's the police that's released it. You know, it's nobody else is going to release those kind of photos. So that just makes, you know, quite often I thought, who are they actually talking to here? Well, they can't be talking to Patrick because he's in prison. Or are they talking to his family? And not because they've necessarily had anything to do with it, but so that they will tell Patrick. I mean, I don't know what sort of visits is allowed or phone calls. You know, so are they doing it to say, show, because apparently his girlfriend's sticking by him, his parents are sticking by him. You know, they're probably maybe do they think there's no way, you know, where it's like, no way my Johnny could have done that, even though, you know, the police have obviously got massive amounts of evidence. Have the police told them what evidence they've got, or are they just sticking by him because they love him and no matter what he's done, you know, they'll stick by him? But yeah, there's been a couple of times where I thought, oh, I feel like they're talking, the police are trying to say something to someone. But I don't know that. As I say, that is just literally a feeling. And the police, I must insist, you know, remind you that the police insist nobody else is involved, you know. But then in the beginning, the police did insist there was no foul play. You know, so the police have really, right from the beginning, just played, you know, just said what they want to say, and so they should. You know, I'm not disputing that they're doing an investigation. I just want them to not only prosecute Patrick successfully if he's guilty, but to find Samantha. You know, it's so important that I do think they will. I honestly do think they will, because I don't think they'll stop until they do. So, okay, so he said, I think it's more likely that the police, in fact, do have more information and they're acting on that, he said, adding it was impossible to know what form any new information may take. And also, I guess in terms of making it aware to the public, they're saying, look, we're still on the tools, we're still working here. I don't think it's just for show. I don't know that, but I don't think so. There's obviously some strategy behind it. On June of last year, police discovered Miss Murphy's credit cards, driver's license, and phone in near perfect condition on the bank of a dam in Buninyong. There's Tim there. And the discovery is considered by many the most significant public breakthrough in the investigation. And Dr. Watson-Munroe agreed for two reasons. Firstly, the unlikely find suggested police had a broader spectrum of information than we are aware of. And secondly, he suggested there could be a third party involved, either in the crime itself or its aftermath. And it suggests possibly that the police are of the view there's a third party involved, not necessarily involved in the commission of the crime, but somebody may have assisted in terms of disposal of evidence and so on. The phone was in a pristine condition and it was close to the lake. Now, the likelihood of that occurring, I think its very remote view would normally predict natural degradation or of anything like that. My view is that as he was locked up, you would think that in all likelihood, the phone wasn't taken by the person who was in custody, but someone else. So yeah, there's this sort of controversy because the phone was in perfect condition or near perfect condition, but really it shouldn't have been because it had been months that had been missing. How long had it been in that water? So asked whether it was by chance the public became aware of the discovery, the veteran psychologist said, "When it comes to investigations, there's no such thing as a coincidence. Sharing the breakthrough with the public builds momentum, but it also potentially puts pressure on third parties if they exist." And in September, about 7 months out from Miss Murphy's disappearance, Dr. Watson-Munroe told Daily Mail Australia there was nothing unique about her not yet having been found. This has happened many times in Australia. This is the sort of area that they're searching in. I mean, for God's sake, look at it. They literally, they could just walk past, and of course now, unfortunately, they are probably looking for skeletal remains or, clothes. She's not going to be easy to find, even if she was just put in that bush, without any attempt to cover her up. Never mind if she was actually buried somewhere. She's there somewhere. They know she's there. They've just got to find her, and they will find her. And he likened the search amongst dense tree cover to finding a needle in a haystack. And asked on Friday whether he still felt that way 15 months out from her initial disappearance, he said, "Absolutely." He said, "Everyone wants crime solved. There's a kind of need for immediate gratification. In part, it's a function of true crime films and documentary series and podcasts and so on. There's a solution at the end of the episode or 10 episodes. But in terms of police investigation, I mean, look at some of the cold cases that have still gone on for decades. Very shortly, I'm going to give you, I'm going to tell you a story of a cold case that was solved after 25 years. So, we must never give up on these things. Because I don't think the police do give up. People feel that they're giving up. There's always something going on behind the scenes. They may scale down investigations, etc. But I think, at the end of the day, the police want to solve things as well. So asked why Miss Murphy's disappearance has gripped the attention of Australians well beyond her hometown of Ballarat, Dr. Watson-Munroe said, "Because you know what? There but for the grace of God, this could be my family." It's the ordinariness of what Samantha was doing, just going out for a run on a Sunday morning. She was training for a marathon. She was supposed to be back for a family brunch. She's, Samantha was sort of Mrs. Every Woman, a mother, a wife, 3 children, running a successful business with her husband. And then she goes out for a run one day and she never comes home. It's the fact everybody knows that could be them. All women know that could have been them. Men know that could have been their wife, their sister, their daughter, their mother. It could be anyone. I think that's why these cases do attract so much attention. When someone, she wasn't out at a club and, drunk getting a taxi home, which I'm not saying that's legitimate. Of course it's not, but people tend to think more, that's a risky thing to do. What Samantha was doing was not risky. It was normal, what women do every day. So I think that's the reason why it fascinates people so much, or where people get so invested in it. You've got a woman well respected in the community going for a weekly run and she's never ever seen of or heard of again. And that captures the imagination of people. So Patrick has denied any involvement in Miss Murphy's death. He's pled not guilty, and they're just putting their disclaimer out there, as I should do as well. Not suggesting he knows the whereabouts of her body or if he was involved in her alleged murder. But he is expected to stand trial for murder later this year. And of course, Victoria Police declined to give comment as the matter is before the courts. I mean, they're not going to comment, are they? They're not going to comment. It'll be a long time before the police comment, maybe after the trial. Now, of course, we're covering the mushroom murder trial at the moment with Erin Patterson. That's been interesting for me because I don't think I've ever covered an Australian trial before. So seeing the things that are coming out in her trial or seeing the way her trial operates gives us a clue as to what we can expect later with Patrick's trial. I mean, he's going to have the trial whether the body's found or not, whether Samantha's remains are found or not. There's a murder trial coming up for Patrick Stevenson. I just suppose it makes the prosecution case stronger if they do find the remains. But then I don't know what other evidence they've got. So, of course, he can still be tried, even if there isn't a body. There may still be enough. There was certainly enough evidence for them to arrest him. And whether that evidence will translate into, successful conviction, time will tell. So anyway, I'm going to light a candle for Samantha. I feel like I've lit a lot of candles for Samantha. We've said a lot of prayers that Samantha should be found, I hope. That's all we can do is keep praying, really, keep hoping, keep sending that positivity out. And I don't know, as I say, how her family are coping, but they're coping because they've got no choice. They have to get up every morning, whether they want to or not. And of course, Mick, Samantha's husband, who, of course, in the beginning was probably a suspect, because the thing is, we can't, at the end of the day, we have to face facts. Statistically, Mick was the most likely suspect, and the police can only operate on that. And it's the same for us. You can't help but suspect the husband, the partner, the wife, because people being murdered by strangers, believe it or not. It feels like it happens all the time because I'm a true crime channel. It feels like, but it's rare. More usual are, crimes are within, people are murdered by someone they know. That is much, the statistics are off the wall, really. But I don't know the exact percentage, but it's a tiny percentage of people are killed by strangers, and apparently Patrick was a stranger. So it just feels like Samantha went for a run and there was evil there waiting for her. Was he waiting for her in particular? Was he just waiting for anyone? Was he not waiting? Was he just driving past? And some people have speculated because we've seen videos of Patrick when he's out having a good time. He likes to take a few drugs, get really drunk. Is that the case? Some people, we've speculated. Was it an accident? But the police have said no. They said it was a targeted attack. So, we just got to wait for the trial. But anyway, thank you for watching. Thank you for caring about Samantha. A lot of us care about Samantha and the resolution for her, for her family mainly, obviously, but also for Samantha, that she should be laid to rest decently, respectfully, and, that her family should get a chance to say goodbye to her properly. Okay, I'll see you really soon in the next video. And until then, may your God go with you.